Caitlin Clark hadn't touched the court in 239 days. Think about that. Quad issues, groin problems, ankle setbacks, an entire WNBA season wiped out. And then she shows up at the FIBA qualifying tournament, comes off the bench, and instantly takes over. In just 19 minutes, she puts up 17 points and 12 assists in her very first game back. No warm-up stretch, no easing into it, just straight domination. And here's where it gets even crazier. Those Team USA games. They just shattered viewership records for the FIBA qualifying tournament. Meanwhile, some of the same names who were in Miami for Unrivaled, yeah, Angel Reese, we're looking your way, were pulling numbers that didn't even come close, not even in the same conversation. But the moment Clark steps onto the floor, everything changes. Suddenly, it's must-watch TV. The energy shifts. The attention skyrockets. So the real question is Caitlin Clark the ultimate needle mover in women's basketball right now? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Absolutely slaughtered the Unrivaled ratings. I mean, put them to complete shame. That it's not her, it's everybody thing is completely done, okay?
Here's the thing, those 239 days weren't just a number, they felt endless for fans. No games to watch, no highlight reels, no Caitlin Clark doing the things only she can do. Just constant injury updates and a 2025 WNBA season that felt like it disappeared before it even got going. It started with a groin injury, then came the ankle issue, and after a while, people stopped tracking the timeline altogether. The mindset shifted from when is she coming back to is she coming back at all? That's the reality surrounding her return, and it's exactly why what happened next hit so differently the moment she stepped back on the court.
Ratings for Caitlin Clark FIBA basketball on True TV, varying. And to nobody's surprise, you look at the average Unrivaled game, Caitlin Clark more than triples Unrivaled. TNT said, man, I'm getting this Caitlin Clark stimulus package one way or
us. The biggest unknown wasn't if Caitlin Clark would return, it was who she'd be when she did. 8 months away from real competition is no joke. Rhythm can disappear, timing gets thrown off, and even the best players can look a step behind when they first come back. There were legitimate questions floating around, not just from critics, but from real fans of the game. Would she need time to get back into form? Did the injuries take a toll? Was this going to be a slow, cautious comeback? And then she checked into the game against Senegal. Coming off the bench, she completely flipped the script. In just 19 minutes, she dropped 17 points and 12 assists, without a single turnover in the first half. On top of that, she shattered 5 FIBA world records before even reaching the 20-minute mark. No rust, no hesitation, or just total control from the second she stepped on the floor.
Here's Clark once again. She's got 8 points. She wanted to pull up for 3, but gonna share it with Ryan Howard, who puts up a 3, and that's her second of the game. Give her. Comes off the screen from Irfan, kicks it over to Clark. Clark behind the back crossover finds Ryan Howard. Howard for 3. And we said it, the connection between Caitlin Clark and Ryan Howard has been beautiful.
2 records in particular stood above the rest. The most assists ever by a bench player in FIBA history, and the most assists in a Team USA senior national team debut, men's or women's. Those aren't small milestones. Those are records that have lasted through generations of international basketball, and Caitlin Clark wiped them out in her very first appearance, coming off the bench. But what really made it special wasn't just the numbers, it was how she did it. Those 12 assists weren't simple passes. She was dissecting defensive pressure, turning traps into instant fast break opportunities before the defense even had a chance to reset. She hit cutters right on time, delivered perfect passes to shooters exactly where they wanted the ball, buzzing and controlled the tempo like she'd been running that system for years. The moment she stepped on the court, everything shifted. The offense had more speed, more precision, and a level of chemistry that just wasn't there before.
Clark over to Billings, and Clark, although she's the NCAA all-time leading scorer, she is an assist machine. The offensive rebound gives the USA another chance. Angel Reese makes the most of it. And that's Caitlin Clark's 9th assist.
That whole Rust storyline, it disappeared instantly. All the talk about her needing time to get back into rhythm was shut down the moment she started running the offense like she'd never left. The pace was sharp, the decisions were quick, and there wasn't a single sign of hesitation. No slow build-up, no cautious approach, just full control from the jump. And remember, this wasn't even as a starter. The coaching staff had her coming off the bench in that first game, yet she still delivered one of the most dominant debut performances FIBA has ever seen. Whoa, which naturally leads to a bigger question. What was the logic behind that rotation? Because what we saw on the court didn't exactly match the role she was given, and yeah, we're about to break all of that down next.
She looked behind her, and there she was, staring at Kara Lawson. Stephanie White. And you know what Stephanie White said? Slow it down, coach. Slow it down. You see all the publicity Caitlin Clark's getting today? Did you see the news? Everybody's talking about Caitlin Clark. We can't have that. The transition offense, Caitlin Clark making passes that nobody in the league has ever seen before. We can't have that. Slow it down, Kara Lawson. Switch it up. We got to make everybody else shine. We don't want her. Everybody else needs.
Think about this for a second. You just witnessed a player come off the bench and shatter 5 world records in less than 20 minutes. And then in the very next game, she's still not in the starting lineup, and the offense is designed to keep the ball out of her hands. That was the direction Kara Lawson went with Caitlin Clark throughout the tournament. The philosophy was simple: spread the touches around, let everyone get involved, make sure no one player controls everything. Sounds good on paper, until you look at what just happened in the Senegal game. All because that performance already showed exactly what this team looks like when Clark is allowed to run the offense her way. And the result, 5 world records and a level of production off the bench that FIBA has never seen before.
I thought the game was a little clunky. I felt like we probably didn't play our best. I thought Paige played really well, but it felt good. I mean, I obviously probably didn't shoot it as well as I would have liked. I think their zone kind of threw us off. I thought it kind of slowed down our pace a little bit. We didn't get as much in transition, so I think if like another team plays on, just continue to play with a lot of pace and don't let them set these out.
Kara Lawson's post-game comments didn't exactly clear things up either. She kept emphasizing the same message, getting everyone involved, moving the ball, making sure different players had their moments, without really acknowledging what Caitlin Clark had just delivered the game before, or why the entire offense looked completely different with her in control. And to be honest, that explanation didn't sit right with a lot of people. It was pretty easy to see why.
And they played hard the entire time. They challenged us with their effort. And I thought they made a lot of hustle plays to create baskets for themselves. And, this was more of an uneven game for us on both ends. We talked about it as a team, and I thought we had some good spots, but I also thought we had some rough spots, and that's good. It's good to have rough spots sometimes. You're able to kind of figure some things out, and we're still figuring things out.
This wasn't anything new. Anyone who followed Caitlin Clark during her time with the Fever has seen this story before. When coaches try to box her into a system that limits her ability to create, the results drop. But when she's given the freedom to control the offense, everything opens up. The numbers have proven that over and over again. And yet, Lawson leaned into that same approach. Then everything shifted. Midway through the tournament, Lawson left for Duke, and Nate Tibbetts stepped in as interim coach for the Italy matchup. His first move? Simple. He put Clark in the starting lineup and handed her the keys. He rolled out a 3-guard setup with Clark, Paige Buchers, and Kelsey Plum. And the message was clear. Push the pace, move without the ball, and let Clark dictate every decision. And just like that, the entire dynamic changed.
See from the lineup with Kelsey Plum, Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers, Ryan Howard, and Angel Reese, and how did that group impact the flow of the game?
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. This is a group that hasn't been together very long. We've kind of mixed the matchups, mixed the rotations. We played our players a little bit longer stretches than what we had done in the first 2 games. And so I thought initially they got off to a good start. I probably played them a little bit too long of a stretch some of them got a little bit tired, but Yeah, I love the creativity. I love the shooting with that group.
Italy didn't just lose, they got run off the floor by 55 points. The difference was obvious right away. The ball was flying around again, the tempo picked up, shooters were getting clean looks created off Clark's reads, and the defense couldn't even get set in time. It was a completely different offense compared to the Puerto Rico game, and honestly, it felt like a completely different team. And afterward, Nate Tibbetts didn't dance around it. He flat out admitted the earlier approach was wrong. No vague comments, no reading between the lines, just a clear, on-the-record acknowledgement that holding Clark back was a mistake. It doesn't get much more direct than that. So now you're looking at a 5-0 run, Clark taking home tournament MVP, and a coaching lesson unfolding in real time across those 5 games. But at the same time, something else was happening behind the scenes. The TV numbers were telling a story of their own.
Advertising was at a minimum. The promotion was at a minimum. And then 1 week before the qualifier started, TNT heard the buzz, TNT heard the chatter, and they said, oh, yeah, that's right. We got to get this Caitlin Clark stimulus package. We got to cash in some way because Unrivaled is wasting us money. So what does TNT do? TNT makes a deal with FIBA.
Now let's put that 334,000 viewer number on True TV into perspective. On its own, it sounds solid. Nothing crazy, but respectable. But the real impact hits when you compare it to what Unrivaled was drawing earlier this year, with many of the same players on the court. That's when the difference really starts to stand out.
Only one of these players isn't playing in Unrivaled. So if the ratings there go above 200,000, there's only one reason. We already know it, but it'll be nice to remind the Slows once again that their faves aren't the needle. We are ready. Keep in mind, Unrivaled was a majority TNT product. Yes, it's simulcasted on TNT, but it was mostly TNT.
Unrivaled came into the offseason with Paige Buchers, Angel Reese, and just about every major WNBA name you can think of, just without Caitlin Clark in the mix. The idea behind it was clear. This was supposed to be the premium offseason product for women's basketball, a polished high-level league built for real competition, packed with star power, and designed specifically to deliver for the fans. But when the numbers came in, they told a much tougher story. Most games were struggling to even get past 150,000 viewers, and even the championship, the biggest stage the league could offer, only peaked at around 314,000. For a product positioned as elite entertainment, those figures were hard to ignore.
But didn't get the TNT time slot. It was True TV or an HBO Max stream. Unrivaled year 2 ratings fell 40% from the year prior. Just north of 120,000 viewers across all games on TNT and True TV. That jumps to 156,000 alone when excluding games that just air on True TV alone. Well, we can't get everything we want.
Caitlin Clark's one televised game pulled in 334,000 viewers. Just one game on a cable network that isn't exactly a go-to destination for most sports fans. In a FIBA qualifying tournament that a lot of casual viewers probably didn't even know was happening. And yet, that single broadcast outperformed Unrivaled's championship game, despite it being promoted as a major national TV event. That contrast says everything.
334,000 viewers for this Caitlin Clark game. 334,000 viewers for this Caitlin Clark game. So more than triple if we're counting TNT and True TV, and more than double if we're excluding True TV, you know, playing to the slows, excluding True TV, making everybody happy, giving them the best possible scenario, still falling short of Caitlin Clark FIBA basketball on True TV.
And keep in mind, this wasn't a home game in Indiana where the local crowd automatically boosts the numbers. It wasn't a heated rivalry matchup either, or a heavily promoted primetime showcase. This was a Tuesday night international qualifying game, and still 334,000 people tuned into True TV just because Caitlin Clark was on the roster. That's what makes it stand out, and when you zoom out, the contrast gets even more striking. Go back to her first 2 seasons with the fever. There were nights she wasn't even on the floor, sitting on the bench in street clothes, not playing a single second, and yet Indiana games were still pulling millions of viewers because the audience wasn't just watching the team run sets or execute plays, they were tuning in for her, even when she wasn't playing at all.
Let's be real, we're used to Caitlin Clark hovering around that million. Y'all done turned so many people off and ruined it. Y'all done ran a bunch of people off already. I mean, you called a bunch of them racist and started fake investigations and all types of other stuff. I mean, Rachel Demita already put it so eloquently about how you guys have done everything you can to shun the fans away because they are Caitlin Clark fans. That's been clear.
That's exactly why TNT's multi-year FIBA rights deal suddenly looks a lot more logical in hindsight. Networks don't invest in international qualifying tournaments just out of interest in the competition itself. They do it because they're buying access to a very specific kind of audience pull. And that 334,000 True TV number is the clearest evidence of that. Because what it really shows is this: Caitlin Clark doesn't just add a small ratings bump, she operates on an entirely different level of viewership, a level that, so far, no one else in the sport has been able to consistently match or reproduce.
She tripled Unrivaled's ratings. Unrivaled's averaging like 100,000 or some 120,000. She absolutely slaughtered them.
And this isn't about throwing shade at Paige Buchers or Angel Reese. Both of them had real standout moments in this tournament, and by any fair standard, they're elite players. But the numbers don't really deal in opinions. They point in a very specific direction. This FIBA qualifying tournament just broke its all-time viewership record. And the simplest explanation is also the most obvious one. Caitlin Clark returned to international basketball, and people showed up to watch. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Clark came off the bench in 4 of the 5 games, and still ended up leading Team USA in minutes, assists, plus minus, and efficiency. But it didn't stop there. Across the entire tournament, not just her team, she finished first in plus minus and efficiency among every single player, on every team, in every game, the entire field.
Here's Young, looking to take advantage of a wide open Howard. Can't this time, and Gustafson with the rebound, but she saves it inbounds to Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin Clark is...
Let's zoom out and look at the complete picture from all 5 games. We're talking about 58 total points and 32 assists, averaging 6.4 points and 4 assists per game, numbers that led the entire tournament in playmaking output. She did it all while logging just 21 minutes per game off the bench, on which still ended up being the highest workload on Team USA. On top of that, she led the team in 2-point field goal percentage, as well as free throws made and attempted. Those aren't supporting role stats. That's the production of someone orchestrating everything, even if the lineup card said otherwise. And then there's the stat that shuts down most debates, plus minus.
Successful tournament for Team USA as they go home with 5 wins under their belts.
When Caitlin Clark was on the floor, Team USA was significantly better than everyone else, not just within her own squad, but across the entire tournament field. And plus minus doesn't care about rotations, labels, or minutes restrictions. It only reflects what actually happens in real time. And what happened was simple. When she checked in, Team USA became nearly impossible to deal with.
Caitlin, what's your favorite part of playing for Team USA?
Favorite part? I put it on this shirt.
And those 6.4 assists per game weren't just empty stat padding or routine passes that happened to end in buckets. That's reading every possession at a high level. That's recognizing the pressure before it even arrives and already knowing where the next advantage is going to come from. It's the kind of playmaking that consistently puts teammates in better positions, making the entire offense look cleaner and more efficient every time she's involved. And that's exactly what the assist to turnover numbers reflect across all 5 games. She kicked things off with a double-double in the Senegal game, doing it in under 20 minutes off the bench. Then came the Italy blowout, arguably her most efficient performance of the tournament, and the one where Tibbetts finally leaned fully into building the offense around her. Across the entire run, she rotated across the 1 through 3 spots depending on what the possession demanded, sometimes initiating the offense, sometimes playing off the ball, sometimes spacing the floor, and at times doing all of that within a single sequence. She wasn't locked into a fixed role. She was whatever the team needed her to be in that moment. So all that talk beforehand about her needing time to find her rhythm, yeah, that didn't age well.
MVP of the tournament is none other than Miss Caitlin Clark. It's undeniable the impact she's made on women's basketball, and here in Puerto Rico had quite the showing. Her debut with the senior team was a double-double with both points and assists. And in her senior debut, she wins the TISO MVP at the FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament here in Puerto Rico.
The MVP award just made it official. Youngest tournament MVP in FIBA qualifying history. But honestly, the case was already built before the trophy was ever handed out or the announcement was even made, because the numbers were doing all the talking long before any headline caught up. And those numbers don't just reflect one hot tournament run. They point towards something bigger for Team USA heading into the 2026 World Cup, especially if Tibbetts sticks with that 3-guard lineup. So when you step back and look at the full picture, it all comes into focus. 5 games, 5 wins, 5 world records, the youngest MVP in FIBA qualifying tournament history, and the most watched tournament in the competition's history. All of it coming from a player who spent most of it coming off the bench, fresh off an 8-month layoff in her very first senior national team appearance. That's not just a storyline, that's the entire picture of what just unfolded.
She's the best. She's not just a legend, but a great person.
Now the focus shifts to what comes next, because the 2026 World Cup is right around the corner in September, and what Tibbetts just showed everyone might end up being the clearest blueprint yet for how Team USA should be built going forward. That 3-guard lineup, Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers, and Kelsey Plum together on the floor, looks like one of the most dangerous offensive combinations women's international basketball has seen in years. Buchers thrives in space, coming off screens and knocking down rhythm mid-range shots. Plum is a pure bucket getter, capable of scoring from anywhere on the floor, and Clark is the engine, reading defenses before they fully form, pushing the tempo, and consistently delivering the right read every single time. When that group was on the floor, Italy simply couldn't keep up, and the reality is most teams in the world won't be built to handle that kind of pressure either.
Touched up the 3, Spain wanted the call, but Paige is leaking her against Dioso, and that one is good for Team USA as Spain calls the timeout. Mad about the no call on that one. You think Coach Miguel Mendez will have a talk with the referees
The World Cup competition will obviously be tougher than anything seen in a FIBA qualifying tournament, but just imagine that same lineup heading into September 2026 with a full year of chemistry under Tibbetts, running a system that's actually designed around Clark's strengths. Add in Buchers and Plum already having complete understanding of where Clark wants the ball, how she reads the floor, and how she creates advantages for everyone else. That version of Team USA isn't just dangerous. That's a team capable of winning by 30 even on an off night. Now Young comes away with it, and here's Caitlin Clark pushing the pace in transition. She finds Paige Buchers running the floor, and if you're a Fever fan, this is where everything starts to come into focus. Clark is heading back to Indiana healthy, fully reset, and carrying serious momentum, plus a tournament MVP trophy after a run that reminded the entire basketball world exactly what she brings to a game. The 2026 WNBA season hasn't even begun yet, and it already feels like the most anticipated season in league history. Every opponent on Indiana's schedule is going to have that matchup circled. Every national broadcast wants that game. The Fever haven't tipped off yet, and somehow the entire league calendar already feels like it's revolving around them. And what happens next in Indiana is going to be just as important. With Clark returning at full strength, the ceiling for what the Fever can build completely changes. Last season never really got a chance to take shape, so in many ways, this is where the real story begins. Then you look back at everything she just went through: 239 days on the sideline, injury setbacks, coaching debates, bench decisions, decisions, questions about rust, and whether she'd look the same coming back. Every single one of those doubts got answered across this tournament. No rust, sharper than ever instincts, records falling, ratings climbing, and the numbers backing up what FIBA fans already believed. When Caitlin Clark is the engine, everything changes. When she's fully unlocked, the game tilts. 5 games, same conclusion every time. Every possession she touched made Team USA better. The impact kept growing, and the noise about her needing time faded a little more with each performance. So now the question becomes simple. Is Caitlin Clark the ultimate needle mover in the sport? Drop your thoughts in the comments.